To our amazing viewers at Cheating Tales Lab, we'd love to hear, which part of the world are you joining us from? Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Warning. The banging shattered the silence at 2:04 a.m. Josiah Yates rolled out of bed, his military training kicking in before his eyes fully opened. Catherine stirred beside him, her hand reaching for the lamp. "Don't," he whispered, moving to the window. Through the curtains, he saw Grover Gonzalez on his porch, the retired detective's face tight with urgency. Josiah took the stairs 2 at a time, Catherine following in her robe. When he opened the door, Grover pushed inside, his weathered face pale in the dim light. "Pack a bag. You're coming with me." "Now." "Grover, what's going on?" Josiah glanced past him at the quiet suburban street. Everything looked normal, too normal. That couple who moved in across the street last month. Grover's hands were shaking as he locked the door behind him. "The ones with the silver SUV? I ran their plates. Government vehicles. Unmarked. I've been watching them for 3 days, Josiah. They're surveilling your house. 24/7 shifts. Different vehicles, same routine." Catherine's hand found Josiah's arm. "That's crazy. Why would?" "I called a friend at the FBI. Grover cut her off. "Danny Chun. Worked with him for 20 years. Solid guy. When I gave him your address, he went quiet. Dead quiet. Then he said, 'Get him out now. Don't tell me where. Burn this phone.'" Josiah's mind raced. 3 months ago, he'd finished a security audit for Arcturus Defense Solutions, a major government contractor. Routine work, penetration testing, vulnerability assessment, compliance checks. Except he'd found something in their backup servers that didn't belong. Encrypted files with government classification markers that had no business being on a civilian network. He'd followed protocol, downloaded the files as evidence, reported it through proper channels. Then silence. No follow-up, no investigation, nothing. "How many are watching?" Josiah asked, his voice calm despite the adrenaline pumping through his veins. 2-person teams. They're professionals. Grover grabbed his arm. "I don't know what you did, but my gut says you've got hours, maybe less." Danny wouldn't have said to run unless. A car door slammed outside. All 3 froze. Josiah moved to the side window, peering through the gap in the curtains. The silver SUV's interior light was on. 2 figures were conferring, one speaking into a radio. "Upstairs." "Now," he said quietly. Catherine grabbed the go-bags from the closet. "Grover, your car." "In my garage. We can go through the back fence." In their bedroom, Josiah moved with practiced efficiency. He'd prepared for this possibility, not consciously, but his paranoia had always run deep. From the false bottom of his nightstand, he retrieved a hard drive no bigger than his thumb. Every file from that audit, encrypted with military-grade security. His insurance policy. Catherine emerged from the closet with 2 tactical backpacks. "The fence boards I've been meaning to fix." Perfect timing for once. Josiah grabbed his laptop, stuffing it into his bag. "We go dark. No phones, no credit cards after tonight." "Josiah, what did you find?" Catherine's voice was steady, but he could see the fear in her eyes. Evidence of something big. Something that someone very powerful doesn't want exposed. He cupped her face. "I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing." "You always do the right thing. That's why they're scared." She kissed him quickly. "Let's go." They moved through the house in darkness, years of marriage making words unnecessary. In the kitchen, Josiah grabbed a roll of cash from behind the flour container. Another precaution Catherine had teased him about. Not anymore. Grover led them to the backyard. The loose fence boards came away easily, opening into his property. They crossed his darkened lawn, the grass wet with dew, and entered his garage through the side door. "Take my old Honda," Grover said, tossing keys to Josiah. "It's clean, no GPS registered to my late wife's maiden name." "Come with us," Catherine said. "Can't. Someone needs to be here. Act normal. They'll know you ran, but they won't know how far or when." Grover pressed something into Josiah's hand, a flip phone. "Burner. 1 number programmed. Use it once, that's all you get." "Whose number?" "Rita Knight. FBI. She's clean, or as clean as anyone can be." Danny vouched for her with his life. Grover's eyes were wet. "I've known you 8 years, kid. Whatever you found, it's worth killing for. So you make sure it's worth surviving for. You understand?" Josiah pulled the old detective into a hard embrace. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. Just win." Grover opened the garage door manually, keeping the automatic opener silent. Head north. Lose yourself in the mountains for a few days. Figure out your next move. As Josiah started the engine, Catherine in the passenger seat, Grover knocked on the window. Josiah rolled it down. One more thing, Grover said. The couple across the street? The woman is former CIA. The man's file was redacted. Even Danny's clearance couldn't crack it. You're not dealing with routine surveillance. This is wet work territory. The words hung in the air as Josiah pulled out of the garage, headlights off, navigating by moonlight until they reached the main road. In the rearview mirror, he watched his neighborhood disappear, the life they'd built vanishing into the darkness. Catherine broke the silence. Wet work means assassination. Josiah's hands tightened on the wheel. It means whoever I pissed off isn't interested in arresting me. Chapter 2. The Audit. They drove north for 3 hours before Josiah felt safe enough to stop. A truck stop outside Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, busy enough to blend in, public enough to discourage immediate action. While Catherine bought supplies with cash, Josiah found a booth in the back of the diner and opened his laptop, running it through a mobile hotspot he'd picked up at the truck stop. The encrypted files from Arcturus Defense Solutions stared back at him. He'd only scratched the surface 3 months ago, enough to know they were classified, enough to know they didn't belong there. Now, he needed to understand exactly what he'd stumbled into. For hours of decryption later, the pieces began forming a nightmare. The files detailed something called the Shadow Protocol, a black operations program run through private contractors to maintain plausible deniability. But this wasn't counterterrorism or intelligence gathering. The documents showed systematic surveillance of American citizens, illegal detention orders, evidence of targeted killings on U.S. soil. All of it funneled through Arcturus Defense Solutions. All of it authorized by signatures that made Josiah's blood run cold. Emmanuel Sparks, Deputy Director of the Defense Threat Management Initiative, a little-known agency within Homeland Security with a classified budget and minimal oversight. The man had turned government resources into his personal Gestapo, targeting whistleblowers, journalists, activists, anyone who threatened the carefully constructed power structure he'd built. Arcturus wasn't just a defense contractor. It was a shell, a front for operations that would make Watergate look like a parking ticket. And Josiah had proof of all of it. Catherine slid into the booth across from him, setting down coffee and sandwiches. Your face tells me it's worse than we thought. I found proof of at least 17 extrajudicial killings. Josiah's voice was hollow. American citizens. No trials, no due process. Just eliminated. And that's only what I've decrypted so far. She was quiet for a long moment. Tell me about Emmanuel Sparks. Josiah pulled up a personnel file. The photo showed a man in his late 50s, silver-haired, sharp-featured, distinguished. The kind of face that belonged on Sunday morning political shows. Former Marine, Bronze Star in Gulf War. Rapid rise through intelligence agencies. Brilliant, charismatic, and according to the psych eval buried in here, a clinical narcissist with sociopathic tendencies. Josiah scrolled through the file. He built the Shadow Protocol from nothing. Sold it as a necessary evil, protecting America from threats the courts were too slow to handle. But he's been using it to eliminate anyone who threatens his empire. Why haven't you gone to the media? Or Congress? Because Sparks has people everywhere. The files show he's got compromising information on at least 40 government officials, including 3 senators and a federal judge. He's untouchable through normal channels. Josiah met her eyes. I tried going through proper channels. I filed a report with the Inspector General's office at DHS. Want to guess who heads that office now? Someone Sparks controls. His former deputy. The report never went anywhere. Instead, we get watchers across the street. Josiah closed the laptop. He knows I have these files. He can't risk me going public. So what's the plan? Catherine's calm question made him smile despite everything. 5 years of marriage, and she still surprised him. No panic, no blame, just practical problem solving. We need allies. People outside Sparks' reach. That FBI agent Grover mentioned, Rita Knight. And I need to reach out to Boyd Branch. Your Army buddy? Josiah nodded. Boyd Branch had served with him in the 902nd Military Intelligence Group. They'd lost touch after Josiah left the service, but Boyd had gone private sector, security consulting for high-risk clients. More importantly, Boyd owed Josiah his life after an operation in Kabul had gone sideways. If anyone can help us stay alive long enough to expose this, it's Boyd. Josiah pulled out the burner phone Grover had given him. But first, Rita Knight. The call connected after 2 rings. Who is this? Danny Chun gave you my number through Grover Gonzalez. My name is Josiah Yates, and I have proof of 17 murders committed under something called the Shadow Protocol. Silence. Then, where are you? Nice try. Are you clean or not? I've been investigating the Shadow Protocol for 18 months, Rita Knight said. Everything leads to Emmanuel Sparks, but every witness either recants or disappears. I need proof that will stick. I have encrypted files from Arcturus Defense Solutions, kill orders, surveillance logs, communications between Sparks and his hit teams. All of it time-stamped and verified. Arcturus. Rita's voice sharpened. I've been trying to get a warrant for their servers for a year. How did you? Security audit. Wrong place, wrong time, right skills. Josiah watched the truck stop parking lot through the window. What do you need from me? A copy of those files delivered to someone Sparks can't reach. And you alive long enough to testify. Rita paused. You need to understand something, Mr. Yates. Emmanuel Sparks isn't just connected. He's got resources that would make most intelligence agencies jealous. If he sent a wet work team after you, running isn't enough. You need to become a harder target than you're worth. I'm working on that. How do we meet? We don't. Not yet. Sparks will have flagged my communications. Every call I make is potentially compromised. Rita's voice dropped. But I can tell you this. There's a journalist named Shannon Cowan who's been investigating defense contractor corruption. She's published pieces that got too close to Sparks' operations. 3 months ago, her apartment was broken into. Nothing stolen, but her sources dried up overnight. You think Sparks threatened her. I think she's looking for the same proof you have. And I think if you can get it to her in a way that protects both of you, she can publish something even Sparks can't suppress. Rita gave him an email address. Encrypted communication only. And Mr. Yates? Trust no one. Sparks has been building this network for 15 years. He's got people in places you wouldn't expect. The call ended. Josiah stared at the phone, then carefully removed the battery. Catherine was watching him. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Emmanuel Sparks made a mistake. He thinks I'm running scared, trying to survive. He thinks I'll make a mistake, and his people will clean this up quietly. Josiah's jaw tightened. But I spent 10 years in military intelligence. I know how black ops work. I know how these people think. And I'm not running. I'm preparing. He reached across the table, taking her hand. Sparks wants a shadow war. I'll give him one. But on my terms. Chapter 3. The Hunter. Jefferson Dennis stood in Josiah Yates' empty house, his practiced eye taking in every detail. The bedroom showed signs of hasty packing. Drawers left open, a jewelry box tipped over. But it was too hasty, too obvious. Yates was former military intelligence. He'd know how to disappear properly. This was theater. Sir. His partner, a woman named Lucille Riddle, emerged from the home office. Computer's gone. So are all the backup drives. Jefferson nodded. He'd expected as much. Yates had the files, which meant Emmanuel Sparks wanted him dead within 72 hours. Preferably sooner. His phone buzzed. Sparks himself, calling at 6 a.m. Tell me you have him. He ran. Sometime between 2 and 3 a.m. The old detective across the street helped him. Grover Gonzalez. Sparks' voice was cold. Handle him. Make it look like a heart attack. The man 73 won't raise questions. Understood. What about Yates? Every airport, train station, and bus terminal within 500 miles has his photo. I've got NSA running keyword algorithms on every phone and internet connection in the region. He can't hide forever. A pause. You know what's at stake, Jefferson. Yates is evidence that could unravel everything we've built. I don't care about collateral damage. Find him. Jefferson ended the call and turned to Lucille. Gonzalez first. Then we expand the search grid. Josiah and Catherine spent the day at a small motel outside Scranton, paying cash and using fake IDs Boyd Branch had couriered to them through a complex relay system. Boyd himself arrived at dusk, his pickup truck dusty from the drive. You look like hell, Boyd said, embracing Josiah on the motel's exterior walkway. Feel worse. Josiah led him inside, where Catherine had set up a makeshift command center. Laptop, burner phones, printed maps with routes marked. Boyd whistled. You've been busy. Catherine keeping you organized. Someone has to, Catherine said, hugging Boyd. Thank you for coming. Josiah saved my life in Kabul. This doesn't even make us even. Boyd studied the map. So you've got a deputy director of a classified agency trying to kill you. Just another Tuesday for us, right? Despite everything, Josiah laughed. Boyd had always been able to do that, find humor in the darkest situations. It's what made him such a good soldier. I need to know what Sparks has mobilized, Josiah said. Capabilities, resources, known associates. And I need to contact Shannon Cowan without getting her killed. Boyd pulled out his own laptop. I've got contacts in the private military circuit. Word is Sparks runs a special projects division. Officially, they're threat assessment consultants. Unofficially, they're a hit squad. Best guess, he's got 20 operators on call, plus support staff. 20. Catherine's face paled. Against us. Against me, Josiah corrected. Which is why I need to change the game. Boyd, can you give me intel on Sparks himself? Where he lives, his routine, his vulnerabilities. You're thinking offense. Boyd's grin was wolfish. I like it. But Josiah, this guy's protected by the entire apparatus of the U.S. government. You can't just. I can't win by hiding. Every day I run, Sparks consolidates his position, eliminates evidence, gets stronger. My only advantage is surprise. He thinks I'm prey. I need to become the hunter. Boyd studied him for a long moment. You've changed. The Josiah I knew would have tried to work within the system. The system is broken. Sparks corrupted it from the inside. Josiah pulled up the Shadow Protocol files. Look at this. 17 confirmed kills. Dozens more suspected. All of it sanctioned by people who took an oath to protect American citizens. Someone has to stop him. And you think that someone is you. I know it is. Because I'm the one with the proof. I'm the one he's hunting. And I'm the one who understands how he thinks. Josiah leaned back. Emmanuel Sparks built a shadow empire by being smarter and more ruthless than everyone else. But he got arrogant. He left evidence. He used civilian contractors for classified operations. And now that evidence is in my hands. Catherine cleared her throat. There's something else. While you two were catching up, I did some digging. Emmanuel Sparks has a son. Sherwood Sparks. Works at a boutique investment firm in Manhattan. Why is that relevant? Boyd asked. Because Sherwood's firm manages accounts for several defense contractors, including Arcturus Defense Solutions. And according to public records, Sherwood purchased a vacation home in the Hamptons last year, paid $4.2 million in cash. Josiah felt the pieces clicking together. Sparks is funneling money to his son, using the Shadow Protocol as his personal piggy bank. More than that, Catherine said. I found photographs from a charity gala 6 months ago. Sherwood Sparks was there. So was Jefferson Dennis, posing as his security consultant. They're not just father and son, they're partners. Boyd leaned forward. If we can prove financial crimes, that's a different kind of exposure. IRS, Treasury Department, agencies Sparks doesn't control. We hit him from an angle he's not expecting. It's not enough, Josiah said. Financial crimes get white-collar prison time, maybe. I want him destroyed. I want the Shadow Protocol exposed, everyone involved facing justice. And I want the families of the people he murdered to know the truth. The room fell silent. Finally, Catherine spoke. Then we need Shannon Cowan. She's investigated defense contractor corruption before. She'll know how to structure the story so it can't be suppressed. Reaching out to her is dangerous, Boyd warned. Sparks is probably monitoring her communications. Then we do it in person. Carefully. Josiah pulled up Shannon's last known address. She's in Brooklyn. We can get there in 4 hours. We? Catherine raised an eyebrow. You mean you and Boyd? I'm staying here. Like hell you are. We stick together. Josiah, listen to me. Catherine took his hands. I'm a nurse. I can't help you with surveillance or security. But I can do something else. I can go to ground completely. Sparks doesn't know me well. If I disappear into the healthcare system under my maiden name, I can stay hidden while you work. And if something happens to you. Her voice caught. Josiah pulled her close. If something happens to me, you have copies of everything. You take it to the media, the FBI, Congress, anywhere that will listen. You make sure Sparks doesn't win. Nothing's going to happen to you, Boyd said firmly. Because I'm going to make damn sure you stay alive long enough to destroy this bastard. 3 hours later, Josiah and Boyd were in Brooklyn, parked outside Shannon Cowan's apartment building. Catherine had taken a separate car to Philadelphia, where she'd start building her new identity through a network of nurses Boyd's people had connected her with. "You're sure about this?" Boyd asked, scanning the street. "No, but it's necessary." Josiah checked his watch. "Shannon should be home in 20 minutes. We wait for her." They didn't have to wait long. Shannon Cowan appeared at 9:47 p.m., her arms full of grocery bags. 30-ish, dark hair pulled back, wearing jeans and a Columbia sweatshirt. She looked tired. Josiah and Boyd intercepted her at the building entrance. "Shannon Cowan, I need 5 minutes of your time. It's about Emmanuel Sparks and the Shadow Protocol." Shannon froze, her eyes darting between them. "Who are you?" "Someone with proof of everything you've been investigating. I'm being hunted by Sparks people right now. If you want the story of your career, come with us. If not, we walk away and you never see us again." This could be a trap. It could be. But I don't think you've gotten this far by playing it safe. Josiah held up his hands. 5 minutes. Public location of your choice. After that, you decide. Shannon studied them, her journalistic instincts warring with common sense. Finally, she nodded. "There's a cafe 2 blocks from here. Always busy. We'll talk there." The cafe was crowded with NYU students and late-night workers. In a corner booth, Josiah laid out the basics: the security audit, the encrypted files, Sparks hit teams. Shannon listened without interrupting. When he finished, she asked, "Can you prove any of this?" Josiah slid a USB drive across the table. "Sample files. Heavily encrypted, but you'll be able to crack them. Kill orders for 3 separate operations, all signed by Sparks. Cross-reference with missing persons reports, and you'll find the bodies." Shannon pocketed the drive. "If this is real, why come to me? Why not the FBI?" "Because Sparks has the FBI compromised. The only agent I trust is working her own investigation, and she can't move without proof. You can publish this in a way that makes it impossible to suppress. Multiple media outlets simultaneously, international coverage, the full story." Josiah leaned forward. "But you need to understand the risk. Sparks has killed for less. Once you start down this path, you're a target. I've been a target since my first article on defense contractor fraud." Shannon's eyes hardened. "I've had my apartment broken into, my sources threatened, my career nearly destroyed. If you're giving me the chance to expose the people responsible, I'll take it." "Good. Then here's what we need." Chapter 4, The Network. Rita Knight sat in her car outside a coffee shop in Arlington, Virginia, watching the entrance. The burner phone Josiah Yates had called her from sat on the passenger seat, its battery removed. She'd swept her car for tracking devices that morning, changed her route 3 times, and paid cash for everything. Even so, she felt exposed. The Shadow Protocol investigation had consumed her life for 18 months. Every lead she'd followed evaporated. Every witness recanted or vanished. She had fragments, enough to know Emmanuel Sparks was running illegal operations, enough to suspect dozens of crimes, but nothing that would hold up in court. Until now. Shannon Cowan entered the coffee shop exactly on time. Rita gave it 5 more minutes, watching for surveillance, then followed her in. They'd arranged this meeting through an encrypted email chain, using a dead drop system that would make even paranoid spies proud. In the shop's back corner, Shannon was already seated, a laptop open in front of her. "You have what he promised?" Rita asked, sitting down without preamble. Shannon turned the laptop. On the screen were documents that made Rita's pulse quicken. Kill orders, financial transactions, communications between Sparks and his operatives. Everything time-stamped, cross-referenced, authenticated. "Mother of God," Rita whispered. This is enough. There's more. Josiah Yates gave me access to his entire cache. He's been decrypting the files methodically, building a complete picture of Sparks' operation." Shannon pulled up a spreadsheet. 17 confirmed murders. 43 cases of illegal surveillance. Financial fraud totaling over $80 million. All of it traceable back to Emmanuel Sparks. Rita's mind raced. "With this, I can get warrants. I can bring in RICO prosecutors, financial crime specialists. We can dismantle his entire network." That's what Josiah is counting on. But there's a problem. Sparks knows he has the files. He's mobilized a manhunt. Josiah and his team are running out of time. Then we move fast. I have allies at Justice who've been waiting for something like this. If I can get them copies. No. Shannon closed the laptop. Not yet. Josiah's plan requires perfect timing. If we move too early, Sparks will destroy evidence, flip his operators, disappear into the bureaucracy. He's got senators protecting him, judges in his pocket. We need to hit him so hard there's no recovery. What's Yates' plan? Shannon smiled grimly. To make Emmanuel Sparks destroy himself. Meanwhile, in a warehouse in New Jersey, Josiah was assembling his own team. Boyd had called in favors from his private security network, bringing in 4 operators who'd worked with them in the 902nd Military Intelligence Group. Gentlemen, Josiah addressed them, what I'm about to tell you is classified, illegal, and dangerous. If you want out, leave now. No judgment. None of them moved. Good. Because we're about to take down one of the most powerful men in the U.S. intelligence community. Josiah laid out his plan on a whiteboard. Emmanuel Sparks runs a Black Ops program called the Shadow Protocol. He's killed American citizens, stolen government funds, and corrupted the very institutions meant to protect us. I have proof. But proof isn't enough. He's too connected. So we're going to force him to make mistakes. How? Asked Tomas Liu, a former Army Ranger. By doing what he least expects, we're going hunting. His people, his operations, his weaknesses. We hit them hard enough that he loses control, makes desperate moves, exposes himself. Josiah circled names on the board. Jefferson Dennis, his chief enforcer. Sherwood Sparks, his son and financial conduit. Lucille Riddle, his second-in-command. We turn them against him or we remove them from the board entirely. Boyd stepped forward. I've been tracking Jefferson Dennis. He's based in D.C., but moves constantly. Professional, paranoid, hard to pin down. But he's got a pattern. Every Friday night, he meets with contacts at a bar in Georgetown. Same bar, same time. That's our in, Josiah said. We grab him, we get information. Names of other operators, safe houses, communication protocols. Everything we need to dismantle Sparks' network piece by piece. And if he doesn't talk? Asked Wilbur Dyer, the team's technical specialist. Josiah's expression hardened. Then we make sure he can't warn Sparks what's coming. This isn't a game, gentlemen. Sparks has already killed 17 people that we know of. He won't hesitate to kill us. So we move fast, we move smart, and we don't give him time to react. Emmanuel Sparks stood at his office window, overlooking the Potomac River. His phone showed the latest update. Josiah Yates had vanished completely. No credit card activity, no phone signals, no hits on facial recognition at transportation hubs. The man was good, better than Sparks had anticipated. His office door opened without a knock. Jefferson Dennis entered, his face grim. Grover Gonzalez is dead. Heart attack, just like you wanted. But there's a problem. Tell me. The autopsy found the injection site. Some overachieving medical examiner flagged it. Local police are asking questions. Sparks turned from the window. Handle it. Make the examiner lose interest or lose the evidence. I don't care which. There's more. Shannon Cowan has been asking questions about you. Specific questions. She knows about Arcturus Defense Solutions. Shannon Cowan is a nuisance, not a threat. She's been investigating defense contractors for years. Never gotten close to anything that matters. Sir, with respect, maybe she's gotten close now. If Yates contacted her, then we make her disappear before she can publish. But first, we find Yates. Sparks moved to his desk, pulling up a map on his computer. He's not running randomly. He's got a plan. And plans require resources, people, technology, safe locations. We find his resources, we find him. Jefferson nodded. I've been analyzing his known associates. Former military contacts, professional connections, family. There's one name that keeps coming up, Boyd Branch. Private security consultant, worked with Yates in Afghanistan. If anyone's helping him, it's Branch. Then put surveillance on Branch. Full coverage. If he leads us to Yates, we end this within 48 hours. And if Branch is too careful? Sparks smiled coldly. Then we use him as bait. Everyone has pressure points, Jefferson. We find Branches, we apply pressure, and we watch Yates come running to save his friend. That's his weakness, loyalty. It's what made him a good soldier and what will get him killed. That night, Josiah received an encrypted email from Catherine. She'd made it to Philadelphia safely, established herself at a hospital using her credentials under her maiden name, Catherine Larson. The hospital's employee records showed her as a travel nurse, temporary assignment, no permanent address on file. She was safe. For now. But Josiah knew the clock was ticking. Every day they spent preparing was another day Sparks could consolidate his defenses. They needed to move soon. Boyd found him on the warehouse roof, staring at the New Jersey skyline. Penny, for your thoughts? Thinking about all the ways this could go wrong. Josiah didn't look away from the lights. We're going up against someone with unlimited resources and no conscience. One mistake, and we're dead. Then we don't make mistakes. Josiah, I've seen you operate under pressure. You're one of the smartest people I know. If anyone can outthink Emmanuel Sparks, it's you. Smart doesn't always win. Sometimes ruthless wins. Sometimes connected wins. Maybe, but you've got something Sparks doesn't. What's that? You're fighting for something bigger than yourself. Sparks is fighting to protect his empire. You're fighting for justice. For the people he murdered. For the idea that no one should be above the law. Boyd clapped him on the shoulder. That's why we're all here, Josiah. Because we believe in what you're doing. Josiah finally turned to face his friend. Jefferson Dennis. This Friday, we make our move. We'll be ready. Chapter 5. The First Strike. The Georgetown bar was upscale without being pretentious. Exposed brick, craft cocktails, a clientele of lobbyists and political staffers unwinding after long weeks. Jefferson Dennis sat at the bar, nursing a whiskey, his eyes constantly scanning the room. Josiah watched him from across the street through a telephoto lens. Boyd was positioned at the bar's rear exit. Tomas Liu and Wilbur Dyer waited in a van 2 blocks away. The plan was simple. Wait for Jefferson to leave, intercept him in the parking garage, extract information. Simple plans were best. Fewer things to go wrong. At 11:47 p.m., Jefferson settled his tab and headed for the exit. Josiah spoke into his earpiece. Targets moving. Everyone in position. He followed at a distance as Jefferson walked to the parking garage 2 streets over. The man was careful, checking his reflection in windows, varying his pace, watching for followers. But Josiah had trained with the best. He knew how to be a ghost. In the garage, Jefferson headed for a black sedan on the 3rd level. As he reached for his key fob, Boyd stepped out from behind a pillar, a suppressed pistol in his hand. Easy. Hands where I can see them. Jefferson's eyes narrowed. You're making a mistake. The only mistake was yours. Hands up. Now. Jefferson raised his hands slowly. Too slowly. Josiah emerged from the opposite side, his own weapon drawn. We know you work for Emmanuel Sparks. We know about the Shadow Protocol. And we know you killed Grover Gonzalez. I don't know what you're talking about. Save it. Josiah moved closer. You've got 2 choices. First choice, you tell us everything you know about Sparks' operation. Where he keeps records, who else is on his payroll, how his network operates. Second choice, we turn you over to Rita Knight at the FBI with enough evidence to put you away for multiple counts of murder. Jefferson's laugh was harsh. You think the FBI can touch me? Sparks has federal judges in his pocket. Any arrest gets thrown out before trial. Maybe, but then you'd be in the system. Visible. And Sparks doesn't like visibility. How long do you think you'd survive in federal custody before he decided you were a liability? For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Jefferson's face. Josiah pressed his advantage. You're expendable. You know it, I know it. Sparks is already looking for a fall guy if this goes south. Why not be the one who walks away? If I talk, I'm dead anyway. Not if Sparks goes down first. Not if we destroy his organization so completely there's no one left to come after you. Josiah lowered his weapon slightly. I've got proof of everything. The kills, the finances, the conspiracy. All I need are the operational details. Help us, and you get immunity. Stay loyal, and you go down with him. Jefferson was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. You have no idea what you're up against. Sparks isn't just one man. He's a network. Politicians, military brass, corporate executives. You cut off one head, 2 more grow back. Then we'll cut off all the heads at once. But we need to know where they are. Jefferson looked between Josiah and Boyd, calculating odds, weighing options. Finally, he nodded. There's a server farm. In Virginia, outside Arlington. That's where Sparks keeps the master records. Every operation, every asset, every compromising piece of intelligence he's collected. It's not on any official government network. Private contractors run it, but Sparks controls access. Where exactly? Jefferson gave them an address. But it's heavily guarded. Former military, state-of-the-art security. You'll never get inside. Let us worry about that. Josiah pulled out a zip tie. Now, You're going to tell us everything else you know. Names, safe houses, communication protocols. Everything. Jefferson talked for an hour, and with every word, Josiah's understanding of Spark's organization deepened. The Shadow Protocol wasn't just a Black Ops program. It was a hydra spreading through every level of government and private industry. Sparks had built something that would survive even his downfall unless they cut deep enough. When Jefferson finished, Boyd secured him in the van. What do we do with him? We hold him. Insurance policy. If Sparks makes a move, we release everything Dennis told us to the media. Josiah pulled out his phone, composing an encrypted message to Shannon Cowan. And we prepare for the server farm raid. Emmanuel Sparks received word of Jefferson Dennis's disappearance at 2 a.m. He was in his home office, the one place he allowed himself to show weakness, and for a moment, rage consumed him. He swept everything off his desk, papers, laptop, coffee mug, sending them crashing to the floor. Then, with visible effort, he regained control. Emotions were liabilities. Josiah Yates was making bold moves, but bold moves created opportunities. He picked up his phone, dialing Lucille Riddle. Jefferson's been taken. Assume he's talking. Initiate Protocol 7. Sir, that will burn half our assets. Do it. Better to burn them ourselves than let Yates use them against us. And Lucille? Find me Boyd Branch's current location. If we can't get Yates directly, we'll draw him out. Hanging up, Sparks moved to his safe, removing a tablet computer. Protocol 7 was his nuclear option, a coordinated destruction of evidence, elimination of witnesses, and strategic withdrawal. He'd hoped never to use it, but Yates had left him no choice. The tablet showed a map of his organization. Red dots represented assets, green dots represented safe locations, blue dots represented people under his control. As he entered commands, the dots began disappearing. Evidence destroyed. Witnesses silenced. Connections severed. By dawn, the Shadow Protocol would look like it had never existed, and Josiah Yates would be left with nothing but unprovable accusations. Except Sparks had underestimated one thing. Josiah wasn't relying on Sparks' evidence. He had his own. The server farm sat on 20 acres of land, surrounded by a 10-foot fence topped with cameras. Josiah studied it through binoculars from a mile away, Boyd beside him with a tablet showing satellite imagery. 4 guards on rotation, biometric security at the entrance, and God knows what inside. Boyd shook his head. Jefferson wasn't kidding. This place is a fortress. Then we don't assault it. We infiltrate it. Josiah zoomed in on a utility access road. What's the power supply? Commercial grid, plus backup generators. Why? Because every security system has a failure mode. We cut power, wait for them to switch to generators, and during the transition, Josiah smiled. There's always a gap. 30 seconds, maybe less, when the security resets. That's when we move. Wilbur Dyer, monitoring communications from the van, spoke up. I can spoof their radio traffic during that window. Make them think it's a routine power failure. Nothing to worry about. And I can get us through the fence in under 15 seconds, Tomas Liu added. Bolt cutters, thermal blanket to hide from cameras. Josiah checked his watch. We move at 0300 hours. That's when guard shifts change, attention is lowest. Boyd, I need you coordinating from outside. If this goes wrong, you get Shannon Cowan everything we've collected, and you disappear. Understood. Understood. But it won't go wrong. It might. Sparks knows we're coming. He's smart enough to anticipate this move. Josiah looked at each of them. Whatever happens in there, the mission is what matters. Get the data, get it to the media, expose Sparks. That's the only thing that counts. At 2:45 a.m., they cut the power. The server farm went dark, emergency lights kicking on 30 seconds later. In that window, Tomas cut through the fence and Josiah, Wilbur, and Tomas slipped inside. The main building was locked down, but Wilbur bypassed the biometric scanner using credentials they'd extracted from Jefferson. Inside, the server room hummed with cooling fans and blinking lights. How long to copy everything? Josiah asked. 20 minutes, minimum. These are military-grade servers with multiple layers of encryption. Wilbur plugged in his equipment. But I can image the drives and decrypt later. Josiah and Tomas took positions at the door, weapons ready. Outside, they could hear guards investigating the power outage, boots crunching on gravel, radios crackling. 15 minutes passed. 18. Wilbur worked frantically, his fingers flying across keyboards. Then alarms shrieked. "We're made," Tomas shouted. "How much longer?" 2 minutes. Josiah keyed his radio. "Boyd, we're compromised. Get ready for emergency extraction. Already moving. East perimeter, 2 minutes." The server room door shuttered as someone tried to break through. Josiah fired 3 shots through the door, buying time. On the other side, someone screamed. "Got it." Wilbur yanked his equipment free, stuffing hard drives into his bag. "Let's move." They went out through a side exit, sprinting across the compound as guards converged. Bullets whined past them. Tomas returned fire, his rifle barking in controlled bursts. The fence was 50 feet away. 30. 20. Tomas went down, a bullet catching his leg. Josiah grabbed him, half carrying him toward the breach in the fence. Wilbur provided covering fire, his weapon steady despite the chaos. They made it through the fence as Boyd's van screeched to a stop on the access road. Piling inside, Boyd floored it, leaving the server farm behind in a hail of gunfire. "Tomas." Josiah examined his friend's leg. The bullet had gone clean through, missing the bone. "You'll live." "Damn right I will." Tomas managed a pained grin. "Did we get it?" Wilbur held up the hard drives. "Every byte. This is everything Sparks has been hiding." Josiah leaned back, adrenaline fading. They'd done it. They had the evidence. Now came the hard part, making sure it saw the light of day. Chapter 6. The Exposure. Shannon Cowan sat in her apartment, surrounded by documents, her laptop displaying screen after screen of damning evidence. The hard drives Josiah's team had retrieved from the server farm contained a nightmare. Detailed records of every Shadow Protocol operation, financial transactions showing millions in misappropriated funds, communications proving Emmanuel Sparks had ordered the murders of 17 American citizens. But it was more than that. The files revealed the full scope of Sparks' corruption, blackmail material on 43 government officials, evidence of illegal surveillance on hundreds of journalists and activists, proof that Sparks had manipulated congressional oversight committees to protect his operations. This wasn't just a scandal. This was the story that would define her career and potentially end it. Her phone rang. "Rita Knight. You have everything?" Rita asked without preamble. "Everything, and then some." "Rita, this goes deeper than we thought. Sparks has been running a blackmail operation for over a decade. He's got leverage on senators, federal judges, Pentagon officials. Exposing him means exposing dozens of powerful people, which means they'll fight back with everything they have." Rita was quiet for a moment. "Shannon, once you publish this, you'll have enemies in places you can't imagine. Are you ready for that?" Shannon thought about the break-in 3 months ago, the subtle threats, the sources who'd gone silent. She'd already paid a price for investigating Sparks. Might as well make it count. "I've been ready since the day I became a journalist." "How do we coordinate this?" "I'm executing warrants in 6 hours. FBI raids on Arcturus Defense Solutions, Sparks' office, his home, and the properties of everyone we can link to the Shadow Protocol. The Justice Department is bringing RICO charges, but they need the media coverage to make it stick. If Sparks has time to activate his political connections, he'll shut this down. Then we publish simultaneously. I've already contacted editors at 3 major newspapers plus international outlets. Everything goes live the moment your raids begin." "Perfect." "And Shannon, thank you. People died trying to expose Sparks. You're finishing what they started." After the call ended, Shannon poured herself a whiskey. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of what she was about to do. In 6 hours, Emmanuel Sparks' empire would crumble, and hopefully, justice would finally be served. She opened her laptop and began writing the final article. Emmanuel Sparks knew something was wrong the moment he arrived at his office and found 3 black SUVs in the parking lot. "FBI." He turned to leave, but agents were already moving toward him, badges displayed. "Emmanuel Sparks, FBI. We have warrants for your arrest and the seizure of all documents related to the Shadow Protocol." Sparks forced himself to remain calm. "I don't know what you're talking about. I'd like to call my lawyer." "You can call them from custody." The lead agent, a woman Sparks recognized as Rita Knight, gestured to her team. "This facility is now under federal control. No one enters or exits." As agents flooded into the building, Sparks' mind raced. Someone had talked. Jefferson, probably. But it didn't matter. He'd prepared for this scenario. He had friends in high places. This arrest would be overturned by end of day. Except when they put him in the back of the SUV and he checked his phone, he saw the headlines. Shadow Protocol exposed. Government official accused of 17 murders. Leaked documents reveal massive corruption in Homeland Security. FBI arrests Emmanuel Sparks in unprecedented Black Ops scandal. Every major news outlet was running the story. International coverage. Congressional leaders were already calling for investigations. His carefully built network of protection was collapsing in real time as politicians scrambled to distance themselves from the scandal. He'd been outmaneuvered. Completely. But by whom? Josiah Yates was a cybersecurity consultant, not a strategic genius. This level of coordination, simultaneous media exposure, FBI raids, political pressure, required someone with experience in information warfare. Then it hit him. Yates hadn't just been running. He'd been planning, using his military intelligence background to orchestrate this entire operation. The raids on safe houses, Jefferson's capture, the server farm infiltration, all of it designed to gather evidence while keeping Sparks off balance. Sparks had spent his career manipulating information to maintain power, and Yates had beaten him at his own game. Josiah watched the news coverage from a safe house in Maryland. Catherine sat beside him, her hand in his. Boyd, Wilbur, and Tomas were monitoring communications, ready to react if Sparks' remaining operatives made moves. "They're calling you a hero," Catherine said softly, watching footage of FBI agents removing boxes of evidence from Arcturus Defense Solutions. "I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who couldn't look away." Josiah squeezed her hand. "How's Tomas?" "Stable. The bullet wound is clean. He'll be back on his feet in a few weeks." Boyd joined them, laptop in hand. "Rita Knight just held a press conference. She's naming names, everyone involved with the Shadow Protocol. And Congress is fast-tracking oversight hearings. They're trying to get ahead of the scandal before it consumes them." "What about Sparks?" "Charged with 17 counts of murder, conspiracy, racketeering, abuse of power. They're throwing everything at him." The federal prosecutor called it one of the most egregious cases of government corruption in American history. Boyd grinned. "You did it, Josiah. You actually did it." But Josiah wasn't celebrating. Sparks still has resources, people loyal to him. Until he's convicted and his entire network is dismantled, this isn't over. As if on cue, Josiah's burner phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello. Josiah Yates. This is Emmanuel Sparks. I'd like to talk." Josiah's blood ran cold. "How did you get this number?" "I have my ways. Even now, even with everything falling apart, I still have resources." Sparks' voice was eerily calm. "You've won, I'll admit that. You outplayed me. But I want you to understand something. I did what I did because I believed in it. The Shadow Protocol existed to protect this country from threats the courts were too slow to handle. Every person I eliminated was a threat to national security. You murdered 17 people. You stole millions. You corrupted everything you touched. I did what was necessary. And history will vindicate me, just as it's vindicated every intelligence operative who made hard choices for the greater good." A pause. "But I'm not calling to debate philosophy. I'm calling to offer you a deal. I'm not interested. Hear me out. I have information, insurance policies I've spent years collecting. Material that could destroy dozens of innocent people if it's released. Politicians, military officers, business leaders. People who made small mistakes that I documented and kept safe. If I go down, I'll release everything. Their lives will be ruined." Josiah felt sick. "You're threatening to blackmail your way out of this. I'm offering you a choice. Let me negotiate a plea deal, minimum security prison, out in 5 years. In exchange, I destroy the insurance files. No one else gets hurt. Or you can insist on maximum prosecution, and I'll burn down half of Washington on my way out." "Why would I believe you'd destroy the files?" "Because I'm a pragmatist. I'd rather serve an easy sentence than die in a maximum security prison. But I won't go down alone if I don't have to." Sparks' voice hardened. "You have 24 hours to decide. After that, the files go to every media outlet in the world." The line went dead. Josiah sat in silence, the weight of the choice crushing him. Boyd and Catherine were staring at him. "What did he say?" Catherine asked. Josiah explained Sparks' offer. When he finished, Boyd exploded. "That son of a bitch. He murders 17 people, and now he wants a sweetheart deal." "He's cornered," Catherine said quietly. "Desperate people do desperate things." "But is he bluffing?" Josiah stood, pacing. If he really has those files, releasing them would destroy innocent lives. People who made mistakes but don't deserve to have their lives ruined. But if we give him the deal he wants, he escapes real justice. What does Rita Knight say? Boyd asked. I haven't told her yet, because I don't know what the right answer is. Josiah turned to them. This whole thing started because Sparks was above the law, because he could kill and steal and corrupt without consequences. If we let him negotiate his way out, aren't we just proving he was right? That powerful people don't face real justice. Catherine stood, moving to his side. Josiah, you've spent months fighting for this. You've risked everything, your safety, our marriage, your future. You've exposed Sparks and destroyed his organization. You've won. Don't let him manipulate you into thinking his threats matter now. But what if the files are real? Then the FBI deals with it. That's their job, not yours. She cupped his face. You can't save everyone. You can't control every outcome. All you can do is make sure Sparks faces justice for what he's done. The rest is out of your hands. Josiah closed his eyes, thinking. She was right. He'd spent so much energy trying to control this situation, trying to ensure the perfect outcome. But the truth was simpler. Sparks was a murderer and a traitor. He deserved prison, not a plea deal. If there was collateral damage, the FBI would handle it. Josiah had done his part. He picked up the phone and called Rita Knight. Chapter 7. The Endgame. Rita Knight listened to Josiah's explanation of Sparks' call without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. He's bluffing, she finally said. We've already seized most of his personal records. If he had serious blackmail material, we'd have found it by now. What if you missed something? What if he has a remote server somewhere? Then he would have used it already. Sparks is a narcissist. If he had leverage, he'd have deployed it the moment we arrested him. Rita's voice was firm. This is a last-ditch intimidation tactic. He's hoping you'll pressure me to offer a deal out of fear. But you can't be certain. Josiah, in investigations like this, you're never certain. But I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen 100 guys like Sparks try to negotiate from weakness. They always claim they have bombs to drop. 99 times out of 100, they're lying. And the one time, then we handle it. But we don't let murderers walk free because they threaten us. Rita paused. You trusted me enough to bring me this evidence. Trust me now when I say, Sparks is going away for life. Don't let him win in the final act. After the call, Josiah gathered his team. Sparks made a play. Rita thinks he's bluffing. But we should prepare for the possibility he's not. Wilbur, can you do a deep dive on Sparks' digital footprint? Look for any evidence of remote servers or hidden data caches. Already on it. But Josiah, if he was smart enough to hide them from the FBI, finding them won't be easy. Do your best. And everyone stay alert. Sparks still has loyal operatives out there. Until he's behind bars permanently, we're not safe. Emmanuel Sparks sat in his cell, reviewing his options. The threat to release blackmail files had been a calculated gamble. He did have insurance material, not as extensive as he'd implied, but enough to make powerful people nervous. The question was whether Yates would call his bluff. If not, Sparks had one more card to play. His lawyer, a high-powered attorney named Bill Galvin, who specialized in national security cases, visited that afternoon. The prosecutors are offering a deal, Bill said. 25 years, eligible for parole in 15, in exchange for cooperation with ongoing investigations. Not good enough. I want 10 years maximum, minimum security. Emmanuel, you're facing 17 murder charges. The evidence is overwhelming. They've got your communications, your financial records, testimony from Jefferson Dennis. You're not negotiating from strength here. Then make them think I am. Tell them I have files that could embarrass the entire intelligence community. Threaten to expose everything in open court. Bill shook his head. That strategy might have worked 20 years ago. Today, with social media and international news coverage, the government isn't as afraid of embarrassment. They'll weather the scandal rather than let you walk. Sparks slammed his hand on the table. I built the Shadow Protocol. I protected this country for 15 years. I deserve better than to rot in prison. You murdered 17 people, Bill said quietly, including a 73-year-old retired detective who tried to protect a witness. Whatever you think you deserve, the law says otherwise. For the first time, Emmanuel Sparks felt the full weight of his defeat. He'd spent his entire career believing he was untouchable, that his position and intelligence made him immune to consequences. But Josiah Yates, a man he'd dismissed as a minor threat, had dismantled everything he'd built. And there was no way out. 3 days later, Shannon Cowan published her comprehensive expose. The article ran over 10,000 words, detailing not just the Shadow Protocol, but the entire ecosystem of corruption that had allowed it to exist. She named names, published documents, and connected dots that prosecutors would spend years following. The public reaction was volcanic. Congressional hearings were scheduled. The president ordered a full review of classified programs. Foreign governments demanded explanations. And dozens of Sparks' co-conspirators, the ones who'd helped him, enabled him, or looked the other way, suddenly found themselves under investigation. Josiah watched the coverage from the safe house, feeling a mix of satisfaction and exhaustion. Boyd had gone back to his security consulting work. Tomas was recovering in Philadelphia under Catherine's care. Wilbur had been recruited by Rita Knight's team to help with digital forensics on other cases. And Josiah? He wasn't sure what came next. Catherine joined him on the couch. I got a call from the hospital. They want to offer me a permanent position. In Philadelphia? Yes. We could stay there, start over. New city, new life. She took his hand. Or we could go back to Virginia. Face what happened, rebuild what we lost. Josiah considered. I don't think I can go back. Too many memories. Too much trauma. Then Philadelphia it is. Catherine smiled. We'll find you work, buy a house, adopt a dog. Live boringly normal lives. After all this, boring sounds perfect. But 2 hours later, Josiah received a call that changed everything. It was Rita Knight. We've got a problem. Sherwood Sparks, Emmanuel's son, has disappeared. He cleaned out his bank accounts, destroyed his phones, and vanished. We think he's trying to rally his father's remaining loyalists. Josiah felt cold. What kind of threat does he pose? Unknown. But we recovered communications showing he's been in contact with at least 6 former Shadow Protocol operatives. If they're planning something, it could be dangerous. You think they'll come after me? I think they'll go after anyone they blame for Emmanuel's downfall. You, me, Shannon, the federal prosecutors. We're all at risk. Rita paused. I can offer you protective custody. Safe house. Armed guards. Until we locate Sherwood and the others. Josiah looked at Catherine, who'd been listening. She shook her head slightly. No more running, no more hiding. No thanks, Josiah said. But I'll take a heads up if you hear anything concrete. After hanging up, Catherine said, You're going after Sherwood, aren't you? I'm not letting him turn this into an endless war. Sparks is finished. His network is destroyed. I won't let his son resurrect it. Then we go together. I'm not staying behind while you hunt dangerous people. Catherine, don't. We're a team, remember? For better or worse. She stood, moving to the laptop. So where do we start? Josiah smiled despite everything. We start by thinking like Sherwood. He's angry, he's desperate, and he wants revenge. But he's not his father. He doesn't have the same resources or connections. So he'll go after soft targets. People he can reach easily. Like Shannon Cowan? Exactly. She's in New York, visible, accessible. If Sherwood wants to send a message, she's the perfect target. Josiah pulled out his phone. Boyd, I need you back in the game. We've got one more threat to neutralize. Chapter 8, The Reckoning. Shannon Cowan left the New York Times building at 9 p.m., exhausted from another day of interviews and follow-up reporting. The Shadow Protocol story had consumed her life. Every news outlet wanted her perspective. Every politician wanted to comment through her articles. She was famous now, and she hated it. On the subway platform, she felt it, the prickling sensation of being watched. Years of investigative journalism had honed her instincts. Someone was following her. She didn't look around, didn't change her routine, just boarded the subway car and found a seat, her phone palmed in her hand with 911 pre-dialed. The man who followed her on was in his early 30s, well-dressed, forgettable. But his eyes tracked her with predatory focus. Shannon pressed send on her phone, letting the 911 operator hear everything. Then she stood, moving toward the door. The man moved with her. Shannon Cowan, he said quietly. My name is Sherwood Sparks. I think we should talk. The subway car was crowded, but people were already edging away, sensing danger. Shannon kept her hand on her phone. I don't have anything to say to you. My father is in prison because of you. Because of lies you published, evidence you fabricated, sources you invented. Sherwood's voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. You destroyed him. You destroyed my family. Your father destroyed himself. I just reported the truth. The truth. Sherwood laughed bitterly. The truth is he was a patriot. He did what the government asked him to do, and when it became inconvenient, they threw him away. Used people like you to make him a monster. Shannon felt a flash of anger. Your father murdered 17 people, stole millions, corrupted everything he touched. Those are facts, not lies. Those were operations. Authorized operations to protect national security. Sherwood stepped closer. But you wouldn't understand that. You're just a journalist looking for a story, no matter who you destroy in the process. The subway was slowing, approaching the next station. Shannon prepared to run. But before Sherwood could move, two men grabbed him from behind. Boyd and Josiah, appearing from the crowd like ghosts. It's over, Josiah said, forcing Sherwood's arms behind his back. NYPD is waiting at the next station. You're going to join your father in prison. Sherwood struggled. You're the one who started this. You stole files, destroyed evidence, framed my father. I exposed a criminal. Your father built the Shadow Protocol to serve himself, not his country. And you helped him. That investment firm, the money laundering, all of it. We've got proof. As the subway pulled into the station, plainclothes police officers boarded, taking custody of Sherwood. Shannon watched as they led him away, the man still shouting about injustice and conspiracy. Thank you, she said to Josiah. How did you know? Because he's his father's son. Arrogant, predictable. I figured he'd come after you or Rita Knight. You were easier to reach. Josiah glanced at Boyd. We've been following him for 2 days, waiting for him to make his move. What about the other operatives? The ones Rita mentioned, turning themselves in or disappearing. Without Sparks to protect them, they're just criminals on the run. The FBI will round them up eventually. Josiah smiled tiredly. It's really over now. Shannon pulled out her recorder. Can I interview you? For the final article in the series. No, I'm not the story. The victims are the story. The 17 people Sparks murdered, the families he destroyed, the trust he betrayed. Tell their stories. That's what matters. Shannon nodded slowly. You're right. I will. As they parted ways, Shannon heading home and Josiah and Boyd returning to the safe house. Boyd said, So what now? Philadelphia? Yeah. Catherine and I are starting over. New jobs, new life. Maybe adopt that dog she's been talking about. Sounds boring. Boring is exactly what I want. Josiah clapped Boyd on the shoulder. Thank you. For everything. I couldn't have done this without you. You saved my life in Kabul. I owed you. Now we're even. Boyd grinned. But call me if you need anything. Apparently, you're good at attracting trouble. Chapter 9. Justice and Peace. 6 months later, Emmanuel Sparks stood in federal court for sentencing. The trial had been comprehensive, methodical, devastating. 17 counts of first-degree murder, 43 counts of illegal surveillance, fraud, corruption, abuse of power. The evidence was overwhelming, the verdict never in doubt. Guilty on all counts. Josiah sat in the gallery, Catherine beside him. Rita Knight was in the front row, along with Shannon Cowan and several FBI agents who'd worked the case. The families of Sparks' victims filled the rest of the courtroom, their faces a mix of grief and satisfaction. The judge, an elderly woman named Catherine Larson, no relation to Josiah's wife, read the sentence without emotion. Emmanuel Sparks, you have been convicted of crimes that strike at the heart of our democracy. You perverted your position of trust, corrupted the institutions meant to protect American citizens, and murdered 17 people to protect your criminal enterprise. The court acknowledges your service to this country, but that service cannot excuse or mitigate the magnitude of your crimes. She looked directly at Sparks. You will be sentenced to 17 consecutive life terms without possibility of parole. Additionally, you will serve concurrent sentences totaling 475 years for your other convictions. You will spend the rest of your natural life in federal prison. Sparks showed no emotion. He'd known this was coming. But as the marshals led him away, he caught Josiah's eye and mouthed 2 words. You won. Josiah nodded. He had won. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like closure. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed them. Josiah and Catherine pushed through without comment. But Rita Knight stopped to make a statement. Today's sentence represents justice not just for Emmanuel Sparks' victims, but for every American who trusts their government to operate within the law. The Shadow Protocol was a betrayal of that trust. This verdict confirms that no one, regardless of their position or power, is above accountability. Shannon Cowan published her final article that evening. It focused on the victims, who they were, what they'd accomplished, how they died. She gave them names, faces, stories, made them real to readers who'd only known them as statistics. One paragraph near the end mentioned Josiah. The man who exposed the Shadow Protocol wishes to remain anonymous, but his actions demonstrate that ordinary citizens can hold extraordinary power when they refuse to look away from injustice. He risked everything, his career, his marriage, his life, to ensure the truth emerged. In doing so, he honored the memory of those who died and protected countless others who might have been next. Josiah and Catherine moved to Philadelphia as planned. He found work with a cybersecurity firm that appreciated his skills without asking too many questions about his recent notoriety. Catherine thrived at the hospital, her expertise and compassion making her invaluable. They adopted a golden retriever named Scout, bought a small house in a quiet neighborhood, and slowly rebuilt the life that had been shattered that night when Grover Gonzalez knocked on their door. Grover. Josiah thought about him often. The old detective had given his life to warn them, to give them a chance. His funeral had been small, attended mostly by former colleagues who didn't know the role he'd played in exposing Sparks. But Josiah knew, and he made sure Grover's family knew too, visiting them, telling them their father had died a hero, even if the world would never know the full story. One evening, 6 months after Sparks' sentencing, Josiah sat on his back porch with Catherine and Scout, watching the sunset. "Do you regret it?" Catherine asked. "Everything that happened." Josiah considered the question. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that people died before I could stop Sparks. I regret that Grover paid the price for my choices." He looked at her. "But do I regret exposing him?" "No. Someone had to. And I was in the position to do it. You were brave. I was scared every day. I'm still scared sometimes, scared that I missed someone, that there's still a threat out there." "There's not." Rita Knight dismantled the entire network. Everyone involved is in prison or cooperating with prosecutors. Catherine took his hand. "It's over, Josiah. You can let it go now." He wanted to believe her. Wanted to believe that Emmanuel Sparks' imprisonment meant the end of the Shadow Protocol and everything it represented. But he knew better. Corruption didn't end with one man's arrest. Somewhere, someone else was making the same choices Sparks had made, justifying the same actions, building the same systems of power. The fight against that corruption was never-ending. But for now, Josiah had done his part. He'd stood up when it mattered, fought when it was dangerous, and won when victory seemed impossible. That would have to be enough. As the sun disappeared below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Scout barked happily and chased fireflies across the lawn. Catherine laughed, the sound light and free, unburdened by the fear that had haunted them for months. And for the first time since that 2 a.m. knock on his door, Josiah felt something close to peace. He'd taken on one of the most powerful men in the intelligence community and won. He'd protected his wife, honored Grover's sacrifice, and ensured that 17 murder victims weren't forgotten. Emmanuel Sparks had built an empire on secrets and violence. Josiah Yates had torn it down with truth and courage. In the end, that made all the difference. Epilogue. 3 years later, Josiah received a letter. It came through Rita Knight, who'd stayed in touch as she continued working corruption cases in government. The letter was from Jefferson Dennis, serving 25 years in federal prison for his role in the Shadow Protocol murders. "Mr. Yates, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that testifying against Sparks, cooperating with your investigation, was the first good thing I'd done in 20 years. I spent my career following orders, telling myself I was serving my country. The truth is I was serving Emmanuel Sparks' ego and enriching myself in the process. The people I killed haunt me. Their faces, their families, their futures that I stole. You gave me a chance to make things right, even partially. The evidence I provided helped convict not just Sparks, but a dozen others. It doesn't absolve me, but maybe it prevents future victims. Thank you for showing me that doing the right thing matters, even when it's hard. Even when it costs everything. I hope you found peace. Jefferson Dennis." Josiah read the letter twice, then filed it away. Jefferson would never be free again, would never undo the harm he'd caused. But his cooperation had mattered. It had helped dismantle the network, prevent future crimes. Maybe that was what justice looked like. Not revenge, not punishment for its own sake, but accountability that prevented future harm. Catherine found him in his office, staring at the letter. Everything okay? Yeah. He stood, pulling her into an embrace. Just thinking about how lucky we are. Lucky? She pulled back, eyebrow raised. We were hunted by assassins for 6 months. But we survived. We won. And now we get to have this. He gestured to their home, to Scout sleeping on the couch, to the life they'd built, when we could have lost everything. Catherine kissed him. You earned this, Josiah. Never forget that. He wouldn't. Every day, he remembered what they'd survived. Every day, he was grateful for the chance to build something good from the ashes of that terrible experience. Emmanuel Sparks had tried to silence him. Instead, Josiah had destroyed everything Sparks had built and lived to tell the tale. That was victory enough for anyone. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.